Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are now live, and I am joined by two absolutely amazing and I must say extraordinarily beautiful women. Welcome to a conversation with, and I am your humble host, Floyd Marshall Jr. And today I am joined by none other than Letia Solomon. She is a returning guest, and we had such an amazing time on our podcast a few months ago that I definitely wanted to bring her back for this special roundtable discussion on Black movies and who should be making them. And we are also joined by the amazing Christina R. Richardson, an award-winning filmmaker out of the Boogie Bronx, New York. And what I'm going to do is, this is a little different because we're basically just going to be, talking today. So I want these two phenomenal young ladies to introduce themselves, tell you about themselves, what it is that they do. And then we're going to get into the topic of discussion, which is basically Black movies and who should be making them, because this is something that is very near and dear to my heart as a Black filmmaker, a Black content creator, a Black writer, Black author, you name it. So without further ado, we're going to have these phenomenal young ladies introduce themselves and we're going to get right into it. So ladies, the floor is yours.
Okay, I'll go first. I'm Christina Richardson. I am a filmmaker and a director. I do narrative and branded content, and I'm also the founder of the Bronx Film Initiative, which is a nonprofit organization that teaches young people how to make films and teaches them about what it's like to have a career in the film and television industry outside of acting and directing. That pretty much sums it up.
Yes, that's awesome. And my name is Letia Solomon, and I am a writer-director for both film and television based in Los Angeles, California. By way of being a military brat and traveling around the world. And I would say that I definitely gravitate towards both comedy and drama, love dramedies as well. And anything dealing with like coming-of-age stories, rooting for the underdog, themes of femininity, duality, and basically just like finding and owning your voice.
Awesome. So Christina, how did you get your start in the business?
Well, quite a long journey. So I started off, I was a child actress when I grew up in LA. And I was on set of a McDonald's commercial when I was like, I want to be a director. And I was 12 years old. And ever since then, like, my career has led me all types of different places, but that's pretty much how I got my start, acting in front of the camera. And then I became an editor and a writer. And I think I started just learning all the ins and outs of film and video production because I think it really just strengthens your eye as a director and just your understanding for how everything works on set and how you can utilize every department as like your toolkit. And then eventually I went on to writing. I co-wrote a few short films for artists like Meek Mill and Future. And then I went on to become a DGA qualified first AD. So I was doing a lot of commercial work and just different branded content. So I worked on McDonald's commercials, go figure, Walmart, Audible, all different types of Super Bowl commercials as a first AD, which really gave me really good insight into like the union world and just like how production works. And on to being a filmmaker. So now I do a lot of branded content. I just did a campaign for Huggies. And in the midst of that, like just starting my nonprofit organization called the Bronx Film Initiative, because I was a kid who grew up in South Central, not really knowing how to get into the industry and not really having an avenue, especially once my family migrated to New York. So I thought it was really crucial to start something where I was like bridging the gap for those kids that might have grown up in, different neighborhoods that just don't have access to film and television like I had the privilege of having. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I had a very winding road. I'm still on my journey. But yeah, I started off in front of the camera.
Okay. And we're going to talk about that because there's some points that you touched on that I definitely want to delve a little bit deeper into. And Letia, how did you get your start in the film business?
Very similar. I started in front of the camera as well. I did have a career change. So I started off working as a chemical engineer in aerospace. Um,
Wow.
right after undergrad. But while I was working, I was basically living a double life. So engineer by day, and then also like actress / filmmaker by night. Taught everything I could, get my hands on about filmmaking until I went to a freelance for a year. Well, I quit after 4 years of working in engineering, freelance for a year, and then went to USC for film school for my MFA in TV and film production. So unfortunately, I graduated during the pandemic, which, that was traumatic for all of us. But it kind of catapulted my career in television. And so I worked on a Netflix sitcom called Family Reunion for a year. And then from there, I worked on ABC and Shondaland Station 19 for 3 years, supporting and assisting the executive producers before I got my first episode to direct in recently, May 2024 of season 7 of Station 19. And so I'm currently working on a few different features and things. And just throughout that time, kind of similar to your story, Christina, it's like you keep finding your way on set, and keep saying yes to the opportunities, and then that will give you and lead you to another opportunity that's usually bigger, better, higher budget, more people on set. And through over the years, I've written and directed short films. I've also produced short films. I've also AD'd as well. And when you're in those roles, you not only respect all the other positions on set, but you understand how they work. And then it will better inform your decisions as a director. And so all of it just has been cumulative over the past, 4 years. I graduated 2020, so now it's 2024. And it also has been validation that I'm on the right track in making this career change and just continuing to push it forward. So that kind of helped me get to where I am today.
Wow, wow. I know important people, and that's amazing. So the journey that the two of you described, when you talk about representation as far as people of color go, when the two of you were on film sets, what did that look like as far as representation of people of color, but more importantly, women of color? Was it sometimes where you were the only woman of color on set? How did that look? I'm going somewhere with this. How did that look?
Yeah, I'll jump in with this one if you don't mind. What's interesting enough is I've been blessed to be around quite a diverse group of filmmakers throughout my journey. And I maybe it's just the times coming out of film school 2020. So, there has been, so many trailblazers before that time to get us to where we're at now. Of course, we have so much more to go, right? But working on Family Reunion, actually, I'm gonna say her name, Twilla. We worked together previously when I was an actress in 2016. That's when I was still working as an engineer, still trying to get my life together, child. And she worked on the show as production coordinator, and she remembered me from way back then. And she was like, "Hey, okay, I know you've never done this role, but I believe in you, and I believe you understand what we're trying to do." And she knew I had a logical brain, like I had the project management brain, plus a creative brain. So she thought I would be great for the role. And she brought me in as assistant production coordinator on that show. And she's a Black woman. Twilla is a Black woman. And not only that, her boss was an Asian woman. And so, and quite a few of the producers were women as well. And the showrunner at that time was Meg DeLoach, a Black woman, and she was a Delta. So I'm a Delta as well.
Oh,
So it's like I
Delta's-
came in. Okay, come on, Soror. See, we should have known. Yes. And so it's like, okay, I came into this organization of predominantly women, strong, very vocal women that were running things, running the set. And then on Station 19, of course, that's a Shondaland show, right? So we have a Black woman at the helm of this company. And what's so amazing is all the creative executives, the producers, everyone carried that same energy. And it was a very diverse show. Also, there's a lot of it's diverse on all aspects, not only gender, but also sexual orientation. Like it was just we just had a breath of everyone there, and we all worked together like a family, and everyone was so excellent at what they do. The writers' room was extremely diverse. And I think for me, how that has influenced me as a filmmaker is that, you know, I love being Black, okay? And I love being a Black woman. It's very special. We have a unique perspective of the world. But when it comes to this work, it's about the work. You know, it's your talent is what you can do, and your talent is forefront, not just your race or your gender. And that's what I've seen. And I've just seen everyone excel at what they do. So that's the bar to me, not what you look like, it's what you can do.
I feel like I had a little bit of a different experience, especially just coming up a little bit earlier and being a first AD. I'll speak on that experience a lot.
Right.
I was a lot of times the only, especially a Black woman, first AD on like major commercial sets. It was very white, I must say. But the good thing is that I had the opportunity to bring in different AD department roles, whether it's a second AD, production coordinators, production assistants. Fortunately for my current directorial roles, I've also been producing, right? So for the Huggies ad, I made sure that we had a 60% diverse crew, because sometimes, these other companies, they usually hire who they know, references, people that are in the same circle. And sometimes you just get a lot of the same people being recycled, and they don't even know that there's a whole talent pool out there of diverse creatives. So coming up, that was definitely something that I struggled with, because when you're in a leadership position and you're leading people that don't necessarily look like you, it can be a little challenging. You deal with a little bit of, condescending attitude sometimes, or it just depends. Good thing I was really good at my job, so it didn't really shake me. But that's what urged me to start my organization and to really be a voice for the people, right? Because it's like, there are talented, diverse people. And I'm not just talking about Black, Hispanic, Asian, like you said, Indian. Like, let's figure out what's going on with the talent pool, and let's start pulling from more diverse talent pools, because I went through a lot of like sets that were just white. And you would think like, okay, maybe there's not enough talent in these diverse pools, but there are people that are just as talented, just as capable, who just don't have the exposure or the opportunity to step into these rooms. So as a filmmaker, and I'm sure you can relate as a producer too, like I make it my business to just make sure I'm tapping into diverse talent pools. And, it's not always about color, but you just want to have a variety. Like you said, you had a lot of diversity on the jobs that you worked. And I think that just makes the product just all that better, because it's like you're pulling from different experiences. It's not going to be just, one dimensional. You're getting full, robust storytelling because you just have so many different viewpoints. So, yeah, I think the industry is changing now, thank God. And you get to experience these things, because it was very rare at one point. A lot of organizations now are very intentional about diversifying their production. So I work with a company called Group Black. They're very intentional about, okay, we're making stuff for Black audiences. Let's have a Black, or diverse production crew. Let's not just have white people telling Black stories, just to be plain. So I think we're headed in a really beautiful direction with the industry, even though things are kind of going crazy right now, but we're getting somewhere for sure.
Yeah.
Great.
I just want to piggyback on that just a little bit, because
please.
you are right. Now that I'm thinking about it, I had a chance to be a part of the Ryan Murphy Half Initiative program recently, and I shadowed on 911 Lone Star, which was an amazing experience. Yeah, like, okay, they're fantastic, and it was awesome. But to your point, though, it was a little bit different than the Shondaland universe in terms of being on set and who do you see on set, and a little bit of the culture, a little bit of the vibe. And so, yeah, I think it's definitely dependent on the environment that you go in with, like, who you're going to see on set. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, those are phenomenal points.
I.e., it was a lot of white men on that set. That's what I'm trying to say. It was a lot of white men. I was like, oh, this is very interesting. I'm happy I got the experience.
Mhm.
I'm so thankful.
Wow. We have a
Right. I
long
was
way.
like, okay. Yeah. And everyone, literally all the guest directors that would come on Shondaland on Station 19, they would always say like, okay, you guys have no idea how good you have it here. This is very unique. Not every other show is like this. Like, you know, Station 19 was the exception. And I got a chance to see that. So to your point. Mhm.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question, Letia. Station 19, very diverse, writing group, directors, everything. Do you think that made a difference in how the show felt and looked because you had people from different ethnicities, excuse me, and different walks of life contributing to the show, basically the way real life looks?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because the great thing about it, it's focused on firefighters and the station of firefighters in Seattle, but they will also interweave in um, social issues and relevant ones that are happening today throughout each of their seasons. And I feel like it really started maybe season 4 around the time of George Floyd. And they incorporated some storylines about racial tensions with police officers and just the, racial disparities that we've been experiencing over the years. And they do it very delicately. Some people might feel like it's heavy-handed, but of course it's politics, right? Everyone it's very subjective. But I thought the way they handled season 4 was wonderful. I think they just like they tiptoed on this line where it wasn't like they were for or against either side, but they made strong arguments for both sides of it. And I think from there on to season 7, they continue to comment on topics of like whether it's abortion or, anything that's trending and that is, truly affecting us at the moment. They do it just with such sophistication, I believe. And because the 7th season, I got a chance to be in the writer's room because the producer I was supporting, he became a showrunner. And so I was his assistant. And I got to see the progression from idea, like concept idea, down to writing the script, down to production, like the entire process. I got to see how that writer's room is so important in like shaping those narratives. And one episode in particular, we highlighted, let me see, it was a indigenous community in Seattle, was I think it was episode 7 of season 7. And Shondaland brought in this wonderful writer, Heidi Marie. She has indigenous background. She was from the Disney writing program. And so it was a one-to-one, like they brought her in to specifically write that episode, and she could put in her actual like family's experiences and make it a bit more authentic. And that's like, okay, I saw it real time. And those are I think that's the way they were very responsible.
I love that. I love that. See, that's why you have to have diversity in the writers' rooms, because you need people's different perspectives. And I love the idea that they didn't necessarily lean on one side or the other, but that's how you shift a narrative culturally. That's how you really change people's minds, by just exposing them to other thoughts and other possibilities. And I think, of course, filmmaking is like one of the most powerful mediums of communication. So I love that. I love that they did that.
Yeah. And they would also
Yeah.
bring in technical advisors too. So for instance, they brought in a police tech, or they'll bring in specific, medical advisors or whatnot with those social topics to make sure that, we are, speaking about it responsibly.
Okay. So there's this gentleman that I listen to, Hilliard Guest, and he always has some pretty amazing people on. And he had a panel of writers because his podcast leans towards writers. And one of the young ladies said something that was very interesting about being in a store and how Black women will not grab the first item on the shelf. They'll reach behind and grab the third or fourth one. And when I heard that, I bust out laughing because that's how my wife is. When I go to the store, she's like, "Don't grab the first thing, grab the third or the fourth because they'll put the stale ones up front, so the fresh ones are in the back." And they were saying that that's a Black thing, right? So when you have these shows, you, do you think that it is absolutely important that if you are not a person of color, but if you're writing a show or a movie about people of color, that you should have someone in every room, much like when they brought, the woman dealing with the indigenous community. How important is that you should go out of your way to say, hey, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this right. And if, we're not people of color, we're going to have consultants that will steer us in the right direction. Christina, how important is that, going forward as far as writing stories and Black stories is concerned?
I think that is so crucial, because if you don't have, other people telling their own stories, that's how you perpetuate stereotypes. And that's how you get the same stories told over and over again. We have so many different stories in our culture. Like, there are so many things that have never been televised that we experience as Black people. And I'm sure other cultures have the same thing. Like, you have to be able to speak authentically and like surely about the things that you put on television. There's so much, it's so powerful, right? So you want to make sure you get the message right. And I know a lot of us are tired of being portrayed as the same characters over and over again. And we are so much more diverse than that. So I think it's very important to have, Black people in the room if you're telling Black stories. I think it's a no-brainer. And we've all seen what happens when you don't have that. It's not authentic. It feels disrespectful. It feels like, a little lazy because like, why would you not? I think it's much easier and it'll just be much more cohesive if you have people just telling and contributing to their own stories.
Letia, if you wanted to add
I
to
agree.
that.
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's crazy because a few things come to mind. Did y'all see the movie The Blackening? By any chance?
Yes.
It's a horror
That was
comedy movie.
hilarious.
Yeah.
Right.
Hilarious.
It's funny. It's hilarious. And it's nuanced. And they felt like very real people. It felt like probably any of us in a horror situation trying to figure out like, hold on, like this is crazy, right? Like it just like those little quips and moments that I'm not gonna say that someone that's not Black can't write, but I just think you have to live some of that to know. So I completely 1,000,000% agree with everything Christina said. And then also that's why we loved Insecure. We fell in love with that show because Issa, Yvonne, everyone, Jay Ellis, like they were just so raw, real, grounded, and just authentic to what it feels like and some of those experiences. And they didn't shy away from it at all either. And I personally had never seen Black people talk to each other in that way like I would with my friends. And especially growing up here in LA, it was just like, oh, okay, these are all my best friends. Like I'm seeing all my friends on screen. And I just don't know if it would have been depicted like that in that way if someone else wrote it. So it's extremely important. I agree.
I would even say it's impossible to get that level of authenticity because it's just a different life experience. It's just different. I don't think it's possible. I think you only,
I agree.
This is why we are, empowering more Black creatives like me and you. Like, this is why we're bringing up the next generation of storytellers, because we need more of us telling our own stories. I mean, the content is just going to get better and better. Imagine if we really have the power,
And I
Yeah,
think
and
it's
I would say,
important. I'm sorry, please. No, go
I'll
ahead.
just say
No.
another example of what you're saying in terms of how the derivatives of having that freedom to showcase different, like a spectrum of Black experiences is the Vince Staples show, is Swarm, is Donald Glover anything, right? It's like, oh, okay, that Afro realism, that it's like these and it's cinematic, and it's great high quality production value. That is just so unique and fresh. Kendrick Lamar, anything, like all his music videos, it's so unique. And it's such a fingerprint that's specifically him and PG Lang and all that. So yes.
Yeah. Another film is 1001 with
Yes.
Tiana. Oh my God. Like, and even Ava DuVernay's origin, like, come on, we are producing, it's only a matter of time before it, before everything shifts, because the things that we have been producing lately, all you have to do is just give us the resources. All we need is just let us in the door, and we are going to excel. We are excelling like exceptionally fast too, I must say.
And what's interesting is this, with all of the shows that you guys mentioned, when it's good and when it's authentic, other people in other cultures can relate, because there's always a through line of humanity. Because even though the characters may look like you and I, the Indian family can see their uncle, their crazy ass uncle, or the white family can see their sister, Becky, because authenticity always wins the day, regardless of who or what you look like, because they're all human experiences. So when we're allowed to tell an authentic human experience, much like Insecure was, and that's why that show resonated with not only women, but men. Because as guys, you're sitting there and saying, oh, yo, that's my dog right there. Oh, yeah, I know a guy like that who can never make up his mind as to what he wants to do when it comes to a relationship. Yo, that's my best friend. I know that guy. And
or you dated the women, or you dated the women in the show.
Well, I've been married for a long time, so I ain't dating nobody, but I know people. But yeah, but and another show that did that phenomenally was 20 something.
Ooh, I actually haven't watched that. No.
Oh, you gotta watch that show.
Okay,
Christina, have you seen that show?
I haven't seen it, but I know exactly what you're talking about because I've heard great things.
That show,
20s.
Leah. Yes, that show.
Oh, 20s.
20s. Okay, yeah, 20s. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Leah. Blame it on my heart and on my head. That show is absolutely amazing. And for the same reasons, because it was so authentic, to our experience. But Christina, I want to talk to you about the Bronx Film Initiative and why you started it. And it is such an important endeavor to be embarking on. So what was the impetus for you saying, hey, we need this and we need it now?
Well, again, I was a child actress and I grew up in South Central LA. I had a short career as an actress, and then my family migrated to New York when I was in high school. When I moved to New York, I had no proximity to Hollywood or television at all. Like, it didn't feel, how you can go to LA and you kind of see the stars, and it's just, Hollywood is everywhere. Everywhere there's a casting agent or a manager, or it was just there, right? But like, I had those same desires, but in New York, I couldn't see Hollywood. I couldn't see a pathway into the industry. And as I started, getting my career off the ground, I was like, there has to be other kids that were like 11, 12, however old, that felt just like I did. I never wanted to be a doctor. I never wanted to be anything else. I always wanted to be on TV or be in TV in some way. I didn't know anything about it, but when I would watch TV, I would be mesmerized and I would just feel so connected, right? But imagine how many kids that grow up in the Bronx or Brooklyn or any of these marginalized communities that feel the same way, and they have no idea how to reach their dreams. And then they get stuck in this box of, you have to be a doctor, or you have to be a lawyer, or make a lot of money, or a police officer, when they do not relate to any of those things. So the Bronx Film Initiative, we have a signature program called Let's Make a Movie. And we basically take the students through the process of making a movie from script to screen, and we partner them with industry professionals throughout the whole process. From writer to every single role in production, they get to experience as we bring their film to life. And we tell stories that they want to tell, right? So it does three things. It gives up and coming filmmakers an opportunity to make something and to be a part of something. It gives kids the opportunity to see what it's like to work in film and television, because we bring out full production crews. We don't just give them cameras and stuff, because that's not how it works in the industry. We bring in every single head of the department. We give them an entire production crew, G&E, the whole setup, and we show them this is what it's like to make a film. This is the teamwork and the camaraderie and the communication that you need to actually make a film. It's such an intense process, but in the end, we give them a premiere, a red carpet premiere, and we screen their film for their friends and family, and they get movie posters that we put all over the school. It's just a robust experience that submerges them into the world of film and television firsthand, and they get to make something, and they get experience, and they get to know that, you know, acting and directing those are not the only jobs, and you can have a career in so many different aspects of film and television. So if you want to do wardrobe, hair and makeup, G&E, set design, location manager, producer, first AD, like there's so many different, you know, there's so many different jobs and careers that people have that are in film and television, and it's all about exposure. They need to know this is possible. I'm a Black woman. This is my career. These are other people, you know, all these people coming together to make your vision come to life, you know, so we're empowering them and showing them that there is value in their intellectual property. It's just a very robust program, and it's needed because, like, when do you get a bunch of people to rally behind an idea that you have? Like, what some people don't even get that in life, you know? So when we're doing that for these kids, it changes them, and it shows them, like, outside of filmmaking, but like, I have an idea, like I can bring it to life. Like, there's people that will support me. And also the idea of pitching your ideas in front of your peers and getting rejected, right? Or we don't like this idea. You know, there's that whole process of developing a story, diving deeper. Like, I remember we were making a film called AJ's Story, and I always start off the program like, okay, what do you guys want to make a movie about? And they're like, you know, like they don't know the answer to that question, because it's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, anything, right? And then one of the kids was like, well, how about robbing a pharmacy? And I'm like, these are kids from the Bronx. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. And they were like, for real? I'm like, yeah, but why are we robbing a pharmacy? Like, let's get into the story. Let's create a story around it. We're not going to just make something to make it. Like, we have power, we have resources. We need to have something to say. So if you want to do a film about robbing a pharmacy, it better be a great story. And the film went on to win a bunch of awards. You know, it's screened in over 25 film festivals, because that's another part of it. We take them on a film festival run to show them what it's like to get their story out there. So it's a fully robust program. And I think it's all about exposure. And that's what's needed for kids that are gravitating towards film and TV, but don't understand how or what it looks like to have a career in that space.
Wow. So
Amazing.
I want you to talk about what the kids are like when they first come in, and their attitude and their mindset, as opposed to when they leave.
Yes,
and what that looks like.
It's such a difference. So they come in, a lot of times they're shy, they're quiet, they just don't know. And a lot of times these are kids that are like the trouble kids or problem kids that they like, okay, join this program, right? Join this after school program. And they don't know what to expect. They sometimes a little bit of rebellious, but once we give them the power and let them know that this is your project, we are doing what you want us to do. As filmmakers, we're coming in to make your idea and your vision come to life. It gives them a sense of like responsibility, like, oh, okay, so it's on me, it's on us, you know. It completely shifts them, because they have power now. They have a say so. Their voice matters, their ideas and opinions matter. And then by the end, when they see their name in the credits and they see the film, it's just like, we really did that. There's a sense of pride, and like they're excited about something, and they have something that's like their family can see. It just gives them a new energy, like a new lease on life, I feel like, in a lot of cases, because it's like, now I want to be an actress, or now I want to be a director, or now I want to work in wardrobe, now I want to be a costume designer. Like, they're discovering these things that they really liked about making a movie, you know. And I also created like these dice. I don't know if I have one here, but it's a dice for the kids that don't quite know what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I have one here. Yeah. So like the kids that don't necessarily know what they want to do, they roll the dice, and then it'll land like on director, editor, cinematographer. Like it puts them in a specific department because they just like, I don't know, just put me anywhere. But that gives them a launch. Like, okay, I don't like this department. Let me go here. And the one thing is that once they are assigned something, they have to be like committed to the roles that they're given. So it's just, you know, there's so many life lessons. Our program is infused with social emotional learning because, as you know, filmmaking is like, it's like a boot camp. It's really hard to make a film. You have all these people that have to come together and be on one accord for one vision, and it is a challenge. But when I tell you, it's so rewarding to see those credits roll. Oh, there's nothing like it.
Wow. We do a program very, very similar to the one that you're doing in New York and Philadelphia. It's called the Film Factory, the Philadelphia Film Factory. And we do the exact same thing. And actually, they just had their red carpet last weekend where the kids, just like you, from A to Z, because what we like to tell them is there are over 200 jobs on a film set, not just being in front of the camera. There are so many things that you can do, and they never see your face, and you can make a phenomenal living at it. And the question that I have for the two of you is, when it comes to information, because with the Bronx Film Initiative, with the Philadelphia Film Factory, the one thing that we disseminate a lot is information. So how important is it for the two of you, you know, being filmmakers, being directors, being, you know, people that are in certain spaces where you're getting access? How important is it for these young people to have the information to know that, hey, you know what? Acting is not the only avenue for you. You know, there may be something else that you may be good at. And how important is it for you guys to get that information to young people so that they can make that type of choice?
Well,
I like,
oh, I could just jump in real quick, but I think it's very important. I will say, of course, it depends on their age,
Mhm.
um, which will affect like what kind of information they should receive and how it would best get to them. Because even now, honestly, let's see, I've been in the industry, what, 10, 11 years?
Mhm.
And I would say some things are just now clicking in to me as a filmmaker that I had to experience life. I had to experience the industry to understand certain elements of it, you know? So a lot of it you have to experience. You can't really just share or tell. So I think the programs that you all have are incredible and crucial just to give them exposure, just so that they know that it's even exists. But I think anything beyond that, especially middle school, high school, even early 20s or so, I think they're going to have to experience what a film set feels like for it to actually stick in their minds, versus just being told what to do or just like, you know, verbal information. They need to
Mhm.
experience it.
yeah, I agree. Because that's the only reason why, you know, once I was doing a lot of theater and stuff like that, but once I got on set of that commercial and I saw how everything worked and the director gave me a tour, and I was like, oh, I want to do what he's doing. Immediately, I said, I want to do it. And it never left me. But if I never had that on set experience from a big, you know, a McDonald's, you know, that set was crazy. Like ice cream trucks, they had it all. They had everything laid out for us. Okay. I was like, this is what I want to do, but I want to do what he's doing. I didn't even care to be on camera anymore. I was like, what is he doing? Like they were shooting day for night, or it was nighttime, and they brought out the sun. I keep calling it because they brought out this huge light to make it daylight inside the apartment. And that was
Mm.
my first time experiencing that. And I was like, oh no, like he just created a whole new world. Like they're making something out of nothing. It blew my mind. And if I didn't experience that, like you said, if I wasn't there to see it for myself, who knows where I would be now?
Yeah. So how do we as creatives, and your opinions, the both of you, how do we as creatives get our young people to be more exposed? Get them, because like you were saying earlier, Letia, you shadowed someone on a film set. So what are some of the ways that the two of you think that something like that could happen on a more regular basis where inner city kids or just kids from marginalized communities can get the opportunity to go on a film set to say, hey, this may be something that you too can do? How do you guys think we can do more of that?
I think that they should make just like how they have home economics and Spanish and French. I think they should have a media class for as a part of a curriculum now. Like media, because of convergence and everything coming together and everything being video based and AI, they need to be teaching media as a part of regular education. I think because just like kids want to be doctors and lawyers and stuff like that, there are the same amount of people that want to work in these creative fields now. When you ask kids what they want to do nowadays, 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, I want to be a streamer or I want to be a YouTuber. You know, it is like the craziest thing. You used to hear kids say, I want to be a police officer or I want to be no, these kids want to be social media stars. They want to be streamers. They want to be YouTubers. Like this is literally what they want to do, and it's crazy to me because I never thought I'd see the day. And it's, like they really aspire to be that. So it's like, we need to make it more mainstream and we need to add it to the educational system. Like, I think that's the real way. Or other companies can support organizations like ours to give more opportunities. But yeah, this needs to be mainstreamed.
That is a great idea because it will also, like a part of those classes, they can also add ethics, like a ethics and moral part to those classes so that the young folks can create more responsibly, especially as they get older, and they'll understand how important their images are and what they're putting out and how they're depicting themselves on screen in a way where, it doesn't limit their creativity, but it can empower them even more. I think that's brilliant. And another part, hi, Tobi, hello.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm so sorry I'm late. I just jumped off of another Zoom and I had to rush in. You know what I'm saying? Come on, y'all. I think I jumped in on a dope conversation.
Yes.
Sir Floyd, my greetings to you, sir.
Hi.
Christina and Letitia, what's happening?
Hello. Nice to meet you. Well, Floyd, do you want to tell him the question or do you want me to just keep going?
No, you can keep going. He'll jump right in. He'll be all right.
Okay. So on top of that, I was thinking I'm wondering maybe if there's a connection that can happen with casting directors, in terms of casting directors maybe being tied in with different schools and different cities, especially if there's a film that requires young kids or young children. And especially if they need like a authentic, like children that feel authentic to that city or that landscape. Maybe that might be an interesting segue too, to kind of help just get them on set as background actors, at least for a day minimum, so that they could just see it and feel what happens in the production, just as extra exposure.
The question that was, I'm just going to give him the question really quickly, Christina, and then please chime in. The question was how, can we as Black creatives get more young people involved on film set, shadowing, things like that. And with you being an acting coach, that is something, I'm sure that is probably near and dear to your heart, to have kids come on a film set and just watch veteran actors basically do their thing. So after Christina adds her points, I would love to get your take on that.
Certainly.
Yeah, I thought that was an amazing idea because especially for ethics. First, I mean, with AI and all this technology, it's getting a little crazy. And I think it's very important. It's going to get crazier. And I think it's important for people coming up to just know how crucial it is to protect yourself online, but also protecting your image and your reputation, and also being careful of what the things that you're saying and understanding the power in the tongue and the power that understanding that you have the ability to move people, right? So you have to be very careful with the things that you say and the things that you put on the internet because they're there forever now. It's really hard to really delete stuff once it goes to the internet. So I think you made a great point.
I think that question is so super duper loaded and so important because, like Letitia was saying when I jumped in, we're in a brand new economy. We're in a brand new world. You know, college isn't necessarily necessary. You know what I mean? I had this conversation with my mom, and that's kind of hard to say because, and kind of hard to realize because unless, you know, you are going to be a doctor or a lawyer, it's almost as if these new jobs in this new economy that we're faced with, it doesn't necessarily require college. You know what I mean? Because all of these kids have these things. And so content is king. And so content will always be king, you know. So having kids learn, and I don't want to say that I'm anti-college because I'm not. It's just there's other alternatives that was never there before, like, you know, 10, 15 years ago. So now you have kids that can out earn their parents just by playing video games. You know what I mean? Like on Twitch or what have you, which is absurd to even think. So for me, I think you know, one of the ways to do that is to, I heard casting directors. Yeah, I think that, you know, that'll be you know, that's absolutely a thing. Man, I think a pipeline needs to be built, period. Like through a lot of these performing art programs need to partner with a lot of these producers or what have you, if they're interested to do that. I think down here in Atlanta, they have this place called SCAD, which, you know, they built this amazing curriculum where the top-notch industry, you know, individuals, they come to the schools and then they've created a pipeline for kids to come. It's like a college alternative to jump, you know, right into their program. And then their facilities are crazy. But on a smaller scale, you know, it might need to be just, you know, a grassroots thing where you reach out to different local producers and, you know, you establish those relationships, and, you know, you reach out to these youth groups and you establish these, you know, these programs, and you build a thoroughfare of exchange to say, hey, if you're going to be, you know, filming, can a couple of these kids shadow you? Can we have a, you know, on the set day and things of that nature?
Yeah, you know what? Yeah. To that point, you actually reminded me of Spike Lee. When Spike Lee first got started with 40 Acres and a Mule, a lot of prominent Black TV directors that are like relevant today, especially maybe mid 40s and above, they got their start in the Spike Lee camp. And they interned with him for free, usually their first few years. So I'm talking like Millicent Shelton, or like around those caliber of directors. I would just listen to their interviews online on YouTube within the past year or so. And most of them have come from the Spike Lee camp. So to your point, maybe it's kind of on us as we're building out our production companies and our features and doing a lot of independent films, we can take the reign, like you're saying. And
100%, because you got to think about it. Like, we are the only ones that don't benefit off of our art. Everybody else has benefited off of the output of our artistic expression. Everybody. We're the last ones to be able to capitalize off of what we do. Like, we have always been the tastemakers. We've always, when it comes to fashion, when it comes to lingo, when it comes to music, when it comes to anything as it relates to pop culture, when it comes to anything as it relates to the arts, that's our lane. But we're the last ones to benefit from it. So I think it needs to be a humongous push. And that's amongst other things. I mean, we're always the industry leaders as a results in sports and sciences and mathematics and things of that nature. That's always Black folk in this country. That's always been our thing. Oddly enough, as it relates to entertainment, we've always been boxed out of benefiting from, the fruits of our, quote unquote labor. And I think, having these types of conversations and, supporting different youth groups that tap into the entertainment industry in that way would be 100%, beneficial, because you're talking about a multi-trillion-dollar economy when it comes to the entertainment, field. And it's only getting bigger, whether it's video, in front of the camera and behind the camera, developing the video games, developing the product. Like, I know everybody saw those kids in Africa that for shot they were recreating like action film, like the inherent genius that we have.
Yeah.
So, but I think what happens is we get caught up on the elixir and the alcohol of capitalism, and we wind up, instead of being our own liberators, we're our own captors. You know what I'm saying? And we fall in line with that. And so we don't allow ourselves, or we think it's this whole, it's us thing, and it's really not. There's only going to be a small percentage of us that kind of get it. And we might just have to be okay with that. I mean, W.B. Du Bois a long time ago came out with that concept of the talented tenth. It may just still be a thing.
So then let me ask you guys, because we're gonna switch it slightly, but we're gonna stay in the same space. Everyone on this podcast is a business person.
Mm-hmm.
How important, because like what you've mentioned, we're always the ones doing a lot of the creating, but oftentimes we're not benefiting from the creation. Do you guys think that has anything to do with the fact that you have a lot of people that are creatives, but they're not being taught the business of this business?
Oh,
so
absolutely.
What do you guys think about that?
I'll chime in with that one, because
coming out of you up.
Yeah, because I talk about this all the times with my friends and just wonderful, beautiful creators in my network, especially coming out of film school, and a reputable film school at that, right? It's like the business classes, we each had to seek them out on our own. They weren't already built within our curriculum, our 3-year super expensive curriculum. And
wow.
What I love is, sure, we learned how to make a film, we learned the craft, how to direct and the tools of directing, but the business side was lacking. And everyone I still talk to a lot of people who are still at the school. I always tell everybody, I'm like, hey, look, what you need to graduate with a script. You need to graduate with at least one fantastic script that's polished and ready to go. And
so, not to cut you off, do you think that lack is intentional?
That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know, because it's stages to it, right? It's levels to this, like I feel like when we all first started out and we first picked up the first camera and first, made our films or acted or whatever we did, right, in this field, we didn't know what we were doing. We had no idea, like you had to kind of stumble through to even understand what directing, producing, writing, acting, like what is the actual craft, learn, and then you can be better at it and be proficient as like an actual creator, if that makes sense. So, and then from there, yes, the business would naturally come after that, because you've spent enough time in this industry to know what the game is, like what is the actual game, right, and how to play it. And some of that, I don't know. Here's the problem. I don't know if you can teach it. And I wonder if that is why they have not taught it to us. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I do.
It's a catch-22 sometimes, because
I'm starting to like you made a lot of strong points, and I'm starting to think that I'm, based on what you're saying, like, because it smacks familiar with other educational systems, right? So, like, I'll never forget when my cousin, like, I feel like in public schools they only teach you so much, and then release you to the world to be a worker bee. But then, depending on what you pay for, like, I'll never forget with my younger cousin, like years ago, when we had to register him for like his senior year in high school. And he was down before I was living here in Atlanta. He was living here. And I'll never forget, we took him to the office and he picked up his his curriculums for all his syllabuses for all his classes. I mean, and they were classes like international monetary law 2, meaning, yo, y'all had this in the 10th grade. Like, what are y'all doing? Like classes that were above and beyond. I'm like, oh, yo, and he was one of the few. So I was like, yo, they're preparing y'all to run the world, while in my high school, they were just preparing us to work the world. You know what I'm saying? And I wonder if it's the same way, like you said, you went to a very prestigious film school. And I'm wondering if it's the same thing where they just teach us how to make the art, but they teach others or in other programs how to run the art.
What do you think of that, Christina?
I will say, I do believe that they should. Even if that's the way it is now, I think that's terrible. And I think we should have actual classes with entertainment lawyers that sit down and walk through contracts with us. If we want to, like, how do you create a production company? What kind of contracts do you need? What does an entertainment lawyer look like? What are the fees that agent and managers should be taken off of your deals? Like all of that. How to pitch? What comes with pitching? When you have a TV show idea, how do you actually sell it? It's like all those things. My friends and I, we have just stumbled through by trial and error. And I think collectively film schools should do a better job of setting us up for success when we graduate those schools.
I think to your point, this is a very weighted subject, because I think a lot of schools teach you how to do a job, right? You go to film school, you're learning how to make films. This industry is so colorful when it comes to like different pathways. Like I've had the privilege of being an EP and being in the position to pitch things and hire people and do all that, but that's not the norm. Like a lot of times directors are just directors, writers are just writers. But I think we're moving into an age where you have to be more than that, especially for us, because we didn't have a lot of opportunities. So we're having to create our own opportunities in order to get a seat at the table, because again, we don't have the nepotism. We don't have the connection. Sometimes we're literally having to get it out the mud to get our creativity out into the world, right? We're having to make our own films. You heard all the things that I did before I became a full-time director, editor, writer, first AD. These are all things that was because I wanted to be a director, but I didn't have certain access. I just didn't. So I had to create my own, to the point where I became a director EP, because not only am I directing these branded campaigns, but I'm hiring people, I'm getting the budgets, so it's like, it's so non-traditional that it's hard to even say if it's intentional, because we are having, as Black creators, we're having to go all different types of ways that's not even industry standard to get to where we want to go. Think about Ava DuVernay when she did Origin, right? She had to raise money as if she was doing a documentary. Like we are creating completely new pathways that have never been seen before. I will say that becoming a DGA qualified first AD and getting to work on union projects, getting into the union world is very challenging, but
no doubt
have that experience now, when I go to my community and to my filmmakers, I'm like, hey, this is why they're able to run sets like clockwork, because of this. So, and a lot of times in the Black community, it is looked at as like you're doing too much. And this is my personal experience. Like, I'm trying to show you how to run your film set like clockwork, which is the reason why major networks are successful, because every single minute of the day is accounted for. There is structure. Everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing. There's just a certain level of oh my God, like y'all know what I mean. Like when you really see how production works, you're like, oh, no wonder why they're churning out shows in 6 weeks. It's clockwork. And you
said such an important word when you said structure, because that corporate structure, because to Letitia's point too, and to your point, like, a lot of us come into this thing as creatives, and as creatives, the structure is like a cuss word to us. It's like structure. What you mean structure?
You sound like Allen Iverson. Structure. You talking about structure?
Right, structure. You know what I mean? Yeah. But I've seen it in my own business as having a performing arts training program, a school, like where like right now. we've partnered up with the studio, and the woman that runs the studio, she came out of Coca-Cola and then for 10 years and then out of Boeing. So she looked at me and she goes, Tob, you know, you're sitting on a gold mine, but like, what are you doing? I was like, what you mean? What you mean? And then, you know, that ego cop probably like, oh man, I'm doing all right. She was like, yo, you, but then she was like, you need to have this in place, this in place, and this in place. And I'm sitting to her giving game, and I'm like, no, you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right. And so she said, listen, let's do this. As we're collaborating and partnering, she was like, yo, let me handle your let me handle the infrastructure business management of the CRMs and all of these different things, which I have a mind for. I just don't, my ADHD is just like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. But to have that structure in place makes the intake of the students, the information, it helps to focus my creativity and focus the business. And I think that wall of that structure that you talk about, Christine, I think I don't think we appreciate it enough. And I think a lot of us will go a lot further with that in place, what you're talking about.
Well, let me ask you guys a question. Oh, no, please go ahead. No, please.
Sorry, we were never really, because we had to build our own careers like from scratch as far as Black creatives. I don't blame us 100% because we were never let in the rooms to be exposed to the structure in order to implement that into our creativity and our production and stuff. So it seems foreign when somebody like me comes in like, okay, this is what you do. This is what you do. It's like, it's a lot, right? But because we figured it out. And a lot of the times people will say, well, I got this far and I made this many films, but like, it's like, what's the quality of your production, right? And do you want to sell this? Somewhere? Films, but they're all subpar, and you are leaving money on the table by not having structure and not having that structure in place in order to produce your ROI, right? Because that's the business side at the end of the day.
Okay. And to your point, like we always say, business is longer than the word show, but the more like I find this is a business flat out. The art is just a product. It's no different than we're selling iPhones to pens, from hoodies to movies to water bottles. It's the same thing as actors. It's the same thing. You know, actors, we are unique in the sense of, you know, in business, you're either doing one or two things. You're either selling a product or you're selling a service. We're both. And to understand, how do we talk about ourselves as if, you know, we have this inherent value? How do we present ourselves business-wise as a product and a service to agents, to managers? So they, you know, how do we understand our own product so that when we're talking to these agents, we can go, well, listen, you know, this is my type. Here's my physical type. Here's how my type works in the marketplace. Here's how my type and the types of roles that I want to do. Here's how my comparables. Like if I'm pitching a film, I'm pitching comparables. Okay, here's my film. Here are my comparables. You know, in my pitch deck, you know, as actors, we need to have like our own quote unquote pitch deck. Like here are the actors that are in my sphere, my realm. Here are the movies and the projects that work with this particular acting type. And here's why I should, you know, here's why I know, or my hypothesis as to why my particular acting type and physical type will work into the marketplace as well. And understanding the business from that end. My bad, Floyd.
No. I was just going to say, Christina, you said something and you saw me. I went, because one of the things that I talk about
all the time
is commercial viability and production value. And if you don't have those two, you have something that's like, okay. But as I tell filmmakers all the time, because I teach the business of film, filmmakers say, I'm a filmmaker. I said, no, you're in the business of making films. And it's a difference. Because if you're doing this for money, then you're in the business of making films. You're not a filmmaker. Filmmakers can make a film and it'll sit. But if your job is to make a product and then take that product to market, you are in the business of making film. And to your point, Christina, if your product is bad why do you expect someone to purchase it? So if the sound is bad, if the cinematography is bad, you're basically leasing a bad product. Would you go to the Apple store and buy a defective iPhone 15? You wouldn't. But you're expecting people to purchase and sit and watch your mediocre work. So with the Bronx Film Initiative, is that something that you teach the kids and the young people? And I understand you have college age young adults coming through as well. Is that something that you guys hone in on at the Bronx Film Initiative?
Yeah.
The power of the product.
It's the reason why we bring in a full production crew versus like just bringing in like a DSLR camera and like, oh, point and shoot and make a film. It's the reason why we have different department heads coming in to show the students, okay, this is what this department does. This is what this department does, right? Because you can make a film with a camera and actors. You don't need anything else, right? You have a location, whatever. Where you could be in a blank room. You can make a film. But a viable film, a film that's going to get into film festivals, a film that people are going to want to see, a film that has a message, that has a meaning, that's like something that society needs. It's going to take a little bit more than that to tell a good story. So we embed that into our curriculum because that is the reality of storytelling and filmmaking, especially as a career. You need people to want to see it. And this is why, again, and usually, you know, from my background, my DGA background, I was getting, you know, I get the best cinematographers in the States to work with these kids, like the best set designers, the best sound people. I don't just pull people like from film school. We hire people that are in the industry thriving already to come and teach these kids. Because again, this is what it really takes to make a good film. And so to answer your question, absolutely. It's about the product. We have to, and I tell them, if this script is not ready to shoot, we're not shooting it. I don't, you know, we have to develop it. We have to get it to a great place and it has to be good. Or why are we doing this? What's the point?
Yeah.
So yes.
Okay.
So Tobi, let me ask you a question. With what Christina just said, as far as bringing in the best cinematographers and, you know, getting that script screen ready, when you're teaching your actors or when you have people coming in to teach your actors, can you talk about briefly what it is that you're imparting to them as actors who will be getting hired on Letia's set or being hired on Christina's set?
Yeah, that's such a very smart and dope question. A couple of different things. One, you know, as an actor, it's you teach the aesthetic of it, like flat out, like what it is being alive and things of that nature. Two, if filmmaking is still such a very technical thing as well, which also deals with your instrument, you know, as an actor. So I like to teach from the inside out, you know, your instrument and then like inside, and then of course all the technical dynamics. Meaning, for example, having control over your body has a lot to do with, let's say, and I had an issue with this too. I still work on it. Your blinking ratio. So if I know, like, if I have a cinematographer like asking questions like, okay, what shot are you getting? Like, what, you know, what lens are you using? How close, right? Then I know that my performance, if, like, say, for example, if I'm doing the quintessential rallying speech, or I have this long monologue and I'm serious, then I don't need to blink all the time, because blinking denotes compassion, it can denote weakness, it can denote vulnerability. And if my character isn't supposed to, you know, be exuding these types of things, and I just need to lock in, blinking can be thoroughly distracting. So know where the camera angle is, know how many, blinks that, that you're afforded, so that it's not distracting. Or subtlety is king. The more, the smaller the detail, the more dynamic the performance. So we work on a lot of, with micro expressions, because if the camera's tight and I'm trying to tell this story, then, you need to have to watch that. So there's different techniques, that go into how do I convey this emotion, this particular emotion, this particular moment, while at the exact same time doing this very technical thing as to deny your body's own natural reaction and response to making sure my eyes don't dry out and washing my eyes so no irritants are in there. So I'm trying to make sure that but I got to hold them in a way that it's damn near unnatural to do so. But we're trying to make the unnatural look natural in a lot of cases as far as acting. Particular love scenes. I've always found love scenes to be the most unromantic thing ever because it's so technical. Like how you know what I'm saying? It's just so it's those types of things. You know what I mean? Being aware of the technicality of the other side that you as an actor you have to consider.
Okay. Yeah. When you said the blinking, the first person that came to mind was Michael Caine.
Right.
Because Michael Caine taught that. And it's interesting. I was watching a clip a few days ago with Michael Caine, and Morgan Freeman was on stage. And, Morgan Freeman is amazing. And Morgan Freeman said, "Oh, I took that class and I learned that technique from you." Morgan Freeman, veteran, award-winning actor, talking about, I'm learning from you. So, Letia, as a director, same question. When you're on a set and it's a creation, but it's also a business. So as a director, how are you basically directing the set to get the best actual product and performance out of your people possible? How do you go about doing that?
Well, it would start before we get to set in prep.
Oops, say that again, please.
Yeah, I would say prep is key. I love to prep as much as possible. I love to rehearse with my actors. Down to having one-on-ones with them, talking about their characters, depending on how nuanced the material is. I might do some psychological tricks with them. I might take them on a date. Like, for instance, my thesis film at USC called The Cipher. It was about a queer Black rapper, and there was a queer relationship between two men and masculine presenting men. One was actually queer in real life and one was not. And so we went on dates. I was like the chaperone on dates to kind of help both of them bond. And we talked about sexuality. We talked about hip hop. We talked about everything under the sun. And then we also did some rehearsals, like private rehearsals together. And that way, when we got on set and we had to shoot a sex scene or, they had to kiss and things, they were already comfortable with each other by the time we got there. And with the crew, I love homework. So I have my shot list. I do my overhead plans. And I don't think I mentioned it, but I'm also in the DJ as well. So I completely understand what you're talking about. And in order, they usually have an orientation where they go over a lot of these prep processes too. And you hear different directors and you hear about their some of their processes and things. So I've adopted that. And the more prepared you are, the more you can utilize your time wisely on set. Those ADs are no joke. They're no joke. Yeah. And each minute counts. And I remember when I directed my episode of Station 19, everyone always told me, like everyone, the producer, literally every single person was like, hey, all your 5 minutes are going to add up by the end of the day. So if you rehearse for too long, if someone pulls you to a side and the actor wants to talk to you about their character for too long, all that's going to add up. And then you're going to lose time to actually put it on screen and shoot. So prep is key. Making sure you have all your materials, communicate clearly and efficiently and effectively. And it'll help you just have time to put the performances on screen. And as people of color, it's gonna make everyone on the set, both the crew and the cast, respect you and know that you are prepared. And then that means that everyone's gonna bring their best because they know, the director, they brought their A, so they're gonna go hard for you because you went hard for yourself.
Yeah.
2 things. 1, Station 19 is so super duper dope. Huge fan. and to tie that in, it's so funny because I use Station 19 as in class as an example. To your point, Floyd, as far as training is concerned, because there is a level of and pace of dialogue and articulation and cadence that, you know, Station 19 has in shows like that, that's like none other. So I picked a clip of the little white girl who's always trying to boss up everybody. I forget her name. And so she was like, yeah. And so she was like, well, how's everything? She's like, if you think, and her cadence and her rhythm and the bounce was just so flawless. And so I presented to the actors, and she was like, you know, it was like COVID-19. She said something like, if you think that in the middle of like a COVID beast, and just the way that she ran her dialogue was so fast, and the cadence had so much bounce and rhythm, and it was so clean. I'll use that to say, okay, this is why we do articulation and enunciation drills to ad nauseum, because you have writers on TV and the level of speech that they have, they say it as a clip. At a particular clip. And if you're just running around here with mush mouth and you can't articulate or have mastery of the language in which we speak to a point where it's going mad fast, but we can't hear the ends of your words, we can't hear the consonants in the middle of your sentences. If we can't hear that, then if you're auditioning up against, and this is the issue that we're finding here in Atlanta, that California is emptying itself down here. New York has been emptying itself down here. And so what's happening is you're having these industry level trained actors amongst a bunch of people that may have talent, but they don't have the training. And they're wondering why they're getting boxed out of these auditions, because they don't have the skill set to compete with the industry standard. So when you're getting in front of a Letia, I'm sorry, I call Letia, I don't have my glasses on. I thought there was an extra T now. I apologize. So if I'm in front of Letia now, and she's used to what the standard is, because your ears are, she's tuned to the bang with melody and rhythm, and then you get somebody coming in there like, I'm trying to intubate the patient and so forth and so on, and it's slow. It's slow, and they can't hang. And not only do they have to say it this way, you're in an ensemble where everybody's instruments are fine-tuned. You'll throw off the rhythm of the whole scene, because guess what? Letia got to get to commercial.
Yeah.
You know what's so funny? You talking about instrument. I watched a clip with oh gosh, A Different World. Dwayne and Jasmine guy. I can't remember Dwayne's real name to save my Kadeem Hardison.
Kadeem, something like that.
Kadeem Hardison. And they were talking about the scene where Whitley was about to get married to Joe Morgan. And Kadeem Hardison runs in, and Kadeem Hardison explains that he totally forgot his lines. So what you heard come out his mouth was not in the actual script. But it's interesting, Tobi, that you kept saying instrument, because Kadeem didn't call them lines. He said, I forgot the lyrics. Mm-hmm. And that struck me. I kept saying to myself, why does he keep saying he forgot the lyrics? And I'm thinking, and then I'm hearing you, an acting coach, talking about instrument, that actors consider themselves instruments, and the words are the music.
Right.
So I thought.
I mean, no, it's perfectly. And I'm gonna say this, and unfortunately, I got to bounce. But
we all about to bounce.
I did not want to miss this opportunity. But I remember seeing a video, and this is what had me like pay attention to it. Quentin Tarantino was talking about Sam Jackson, and he goes, "You want to know why Sam Jackson has been in my movies more than any other American actor?" He says, because he knows how to put melody to my dialogue. And I said, whoa. And then again, to your point, so when you hear these things and you grasp the demands of the standard of the industry or what have you, or just the artistic demands, period, outside of the industry, it's just high level, operating in your art at a high level, you start to hear these things like, yo, how do I And then you go back and you do let's say you do a case study of Sam Jackson, and you go, yo, you know what? He's absolutely right. His voice and our speaking voice, it does have pitch, it does have intonation, it does have you do all of these different things with your voice. Then it's like, okay, well, now how do I train to do that? And that'll lead you to, okay, well, what do singers do? How do I work on my tonality, and then marry my tonality with my enunciation? And then now, like, I like to use a lot of sports references. Now my articulation can get me anywhere on the court because I can handle the demands of my character. Because my character, like if I'm playing a villain, there's nothing more cold-blooded than an articulate, melodious character.
The Joker.
You know what I'm saying? It's your responsibility as an actor to have all of that in mind, because you could be a brilliant actor, but if you don't have the skill set to be on Christina's set or Letia's set, to your point, you have to make yourself commercially viable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In that way. And a lot of actors, they're popular, but they're mediocre, but they still get jobs. And you've got to figure out why. Because a lot of us, we don't spend enough time. We confuse the work of the craft, which is TV shows and things of that nature, with the work on the craft. Like I never forget, real quick, and I'm my instructor at Uta Hagen School, HB Studios in New York, where I was studying. I'll never forget. A student came in there, and I was embarrassed for them. They go, homeboy goes, "Are you going to teach us audition techniques?" And my instructor goes, "Audition techniques? I'm teaching you how. I want you to be like good. Like, take another class for audition techniques."
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm this particular class is for you to get the aesthetic, the craft of itself, and then you take that and then you apply it to audition techniques, because you could be a wonderful auditioner and suck as an actor, and vice versa. You know what I mean? You could be a brilliant actor but suck at auditioning. So there's like different areas to be able to, again, like you have somebody like these two brilliant individuals, they're a genius at what they do. Then you got the lighting dude, he's brilliant at what he does. And then you have the ADs, they're brilliant at what they do. The art directing dude or person, they're brilliant at what they do. So you have all of these, you know, geniuses satelliting amongst each other, trying to, you know, work together. And then as the actor, you have to make sure that your particular genius serves their genius, so that there's harmony on set. And then that's when you can feel it when you watch the show. The costume designer is like, oh man, you're not just wearing the clothes. You know, the clothing choice is birthed out of the consciousness of the character, which is birthed out of the creation of the actor. It's like, it's jazz, man. It's music.
It is. Yeah,
That's beautiful.
absolutely.
That's beautiful. So I just have one final question for each of you. Tobi, if you got to jump. 'Cause I don't
Oh,
wanna-
yeah, I really do. But like, I'm known for being late, so I'm gonna just keep the party going.
Okay. The last question for each of these, and this has been an amazing conversation. It started in one place and it ended up somewhere else. But guess what? All of that goes into who should be making our films. All of this goes into who should be making our films and the nuances that goes into the making of our films. And if there are any allies that will be listening to this podcast in the future, please listen to it a few times so that when you are on a set with people of color, you did your homework and you prepared yourself so that when you show up, you can be of service and good service. But my last question to each of you is, what would you say to anyone deciding that this is the business that they want to get into? What would be your advice to them?
Pray.
I would say immediately start making stuff. whether you want to be an actor or director or writer, you have to be doing it to get good at it, because you have to find your voice as an artist in whatever medium you choose. So the first thing I would tell people to do, start making stuff. That's, that's it.
Yeah, I would have to agree with her. Definitely. Yeah, you just got to get in it to see what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you're not good at. Maybe you have a vision, you thought your voice would be like this, but when you actually get on set and you are under pressure, you have to be in those moments where you have to make that decision. Which decision are you going to go with? And how you handle yourself under duress and things like that. You just have to be in the game to do it. Real quickly, I want to just
Please
acknowledge Wendell Dean. So thank you, shout out for even just like listening and tuning in. But he mentioned P-Valley for Uncle Clifford and Lil Murda, queer rappers and whatnot in the show. I just want to say the composer on that show, Matthew Head, he actually was the composer for my USC thesis film. And so you'll hear, he did P-Valley literally right after mine. And there's similar, I think he used, if not the same tones in the show, which was like awesome to hear.
That's
and
so
see
fire.
It's incredible. And kind of like tying in with the who can make our stories, right? It's like those are the like we kind of have to continue to make our stories because those are the kind of moments that come from it. But just get started. And I will say I'm 10, 11 years in the business so far. I've stumbled through certain moments and I've made some mistakes, which is fine, right? I'm happy to make those mistakes because I grew from them and I never made the same mistake twice. However, I sometimes I wonder like, and I have peers that have gotten to their positions faster. Like I have people who graduated the same years I did, but they have sold TV shows. They're about to crank out their first feature, all these things, right? And I say that to say, I think they went into film school with a clearer idea of what they wanted to do coming out of it. So, if you're starting from zero, just get started. But if you have an idea of what you want to do, that's even better. And it'll get you to your goals much faster and like align with, network with people who are doing exactly what you want to do to get you there sooner.
Yeah. And be a learner. Like I'm always studying films and directors and listening to audiobooks and understanding storytelling technique. Like you should be, if you have downtime, you should be studying. Like I think that's another very crucial thing. Like study your craft. Study your craft. Always be studying. Technology changes, everything. Keep up with the Joneses. Like figure out how you can always be ahead of the curve with as far as like industry knowledge, for sure.
Sorry, I'm just going to add to that real quick. Speaking of that, there's tons of podcasts. There's Studio Binder. There's YouTube videos that like go into detail. You do not have to go to film school at all. I
didn't go to film school.
Exactly.
Neither did I.
At all.
But I went to YouTube University, Studio Binder, all the things.
Exactly. I got a couple of degrees from YouTube University.
Yes. And even then, even after I graduated, I went to UCLA's extension program and did a program for feature filmmaking just to like focus on that. And what I'll do, to your point, in my spare time, I'll find scripts online of my favorite TV shows, watch them side by side, literally pull them up on Hulu or HBO Max or whatever, and pull the script up and literally like watch the show and see, well, what translated, what made it to the final cut as my own homework and my own film school. So I'm just gonna say that.
And I'll just add to that really quickly before you go, Tobi. Again, listening to Michael Caine and, on one of his clips, and he was talking about camera work and how you should, when you're in the scene, how one eye should be on the camera. I don't know how he does it, but he said one eye should be on the camera and the other eye should be somewhere else. Now, the way he explained it, it was basically a masterclass. And I say that to say this, like was just said, if you want to go to film school, great, because there are definitely, upsides to that. But if that is not in your wheelhouse and you still want to be in this business, you can definitely do that and be very successful in this business, because there is so much information out there for you to ingest. There's a reason people come on my podcast. I ain't never stepped foot inside a film school, but I know what I'm talking about because I got an entire library of film stuff back there, personal development. Malcolm X educated himself while he was in prison and got on stage and debated some of the greatest minds in the world. And the man educated himself in prison. So if you want it bad enough, then that's the thing. Are you about this life? Are you about this life? Because if you're about this life, you will figure it out and you will find out a way. But Toby, please.
Yeah, no, I resonate with everything everybody's saying. I think esoterically, I would say, and I said it as a joke, but I really do mean it, pray. Get locked in that way, because this business, just like any other business, it will test your patience and your resilience. So you're going to want to get into that because there's a million things that break, particularly as an actor, man. There's so many things that you think that you have a big project or what have you, and it falls through or it never comes out, or your scene gets cut, and the project is rocking and rolling, but all of a sudden, or you could be on a hit show like Station 19, and you can be a hot character for the first 2 seasons, and then the next season you're not in there anymore, like the big dude that was on Hamilton. I was like, yo, where's he? Where's my man at? And I liked him, but you don't see him anymore, and then nobody knows where you are, and so those things take a toll on you mentally and spiritually and things of that nature. So just with life, period, you want to shore that up. And then to your other question, Floyd, where you said who should be making our films, I thought about that, and 2 things. Obviously us, but at the same time, if you're not us and you're making our film, or if you're a filmmaker and you're making a film about another person's culture or experiences, just make sure that you understand and respect the other person's culture and experiences, so that when you do adapt it to your art, you're not offending that particular culture. And then maybe those nuances of that particular culture might be available to you, and you might make a beautiful film. Because I remember when Steven Spielberg I was a shorty, but I remember my parents coming in and their friends, I can't believe this white dude done made The Color Purple. Now your black card gets revoked if you can't quote at least 3 lines from The Color Purple. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things. It's like, just make sure that you have enough honor and integrity to respect the other person's culture, even if it's from an exploratory, point of view. Because there was a time when it comes to hip hop, that, every person's name was either an Italian mob dude's name was like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Or, we were tatting, Japanese symbols all over our bodies. And it was just like, are you sure that's what it really says? You know what I'm saying? So art is available to all of us. Just respect the culture.
Well, I got a couple. And before I had them tatted, I looked because I love Japanese culture. So right. I have them. But to your point, I didn't just say, let me get that. They all have significance and meaning, family, my wife's name is on my chest, in Japanese. So it all has meaning. And that is so poignant that you said that. And to get it right, I researched.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you want to get it right, research. Because how many times, and we've all seen it, we're all sitting there and we're watching something and we're taken out of it because they'll say something. They'll say something, and I'm just going to say it. They'll say something black, but it ain't no black nowhere in it. And you're sitting there saying, see, obviously y'all didn't talk to the right folk before you decided to put that phrase in the script, because that doesn't fit anywhere in Black vernacular like that than the way you just used it. So you could tell that they didn't, as you said, Toby, they didn't respect the culture enough to just ask a damn question.
Just ask.
That's simple. So this has been absolutely amazing. We definitely have to do this again. But before we leave, where can everyone find you guys? Because I definitely want people to follow you on social media to keep up with your doing. And before we go, Christina, what's going on with the Bronx Film Initiative? What's next for the Bronx Film Initiative?
So we are gearing up to do something for the fall. We're going to be doing a short film project for Halloween. It's going to be like a short horror, and I'm collaborating with a commercial director, and just getting the crew for that together. And also we're figuring out what schools we're going to for next year. So just planning. And we got our 501c3 status this year. So a lot of this year has been like, just, you know how that goes when you have to, it's do all it's a lot. Okay. And then especially with me, being a mom and also like working in this industry, it's a lot. However, we are making great strides. And I think the next big thing that I want to do is collaborate with more production companies, more networks to get more support for the films that we want to make.
Okay, cool. Letia, what you got going on next? What's going on? What's going on with you?
Yeah, no, right now I am just focused on writing. I'm getting some projects done. I'm about to put together a campaign for a short film, which is a proof of concept for a feature called The Queen, the Knight, and the Witch. It's a fantasy rom-com about a young woman who wants to lose her virginity, so she hires a sex worker to help her make it happen.
Oh.
But they have to do some unorthodox things and potentially role play some characters from a medieval audiobook. So we have fun with that.
Y'all need extras. Y'all need extras.
I love that you're in that category, like of, it's not just standard rom-com. It's like we're going a little, little sci-fi, a little,
It's a mix of it. So it's like a Hood Bridgerton meets Insecure meets 40-Year-Old.
I love that.
Oh, I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see
so that campaign will be coming out really soon. And that's kind of really what I have coming up next.
Okay, you're gonna have to come back on the show and talk about it before the campaign breaks, so we can get some eyes and ears on that. And last but not least,
everyone can people can find me at on Instagram. You can type my at l.solomon SOLOMON _.
Okay.
And I'm C-Rich Media on everything. CRICH Media on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, everything.
Okay. And Mr. Gadison, what's next for you, brother?
A couple of different things. I'll be I'm developing a one-man show actually called The Talented 10th, which is probably I want this to be like my magnum opus. You know what I mean? I don't know, but you're my brother. So Rail Dowdell is helping me out with this piece.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, it's going to chronicle different auspices of Black men, different from different different professions, different modes and walks of life, and their experiences through history. And it's going to be, hopefully, I just want to exhaust myself with this. And also with the Actors District, like I said, we partner with Modex Studios in Atlanta, and I want to expand the classes there, which is really dope. And we are filming a docuseries called The Arena, which is in-depth look at the process of the actor, which it's going to highlight the lessons of what we teach, and then of course the journey of each actor. Floyd and Christina and Letia, I would love to network with you on that, because if we can get eyes on how we actually develop, you know what I mean, and the mentorship that comes along with it, I think that'll be absolutely dope. And you can find me at I'm more active at the Actors District on IG, because I'm old school. I don't do Facebook that much. And you can find me at Tobi Gadison on IG. And I ain't ashamed to say it, I just did LinkedIn. So you can find
okay.
so you can find me on LinkedIn as well. So that's what's up.
Beautiful. And again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for spending a little bit of time with me today. I truly appreciate it. This has been absolutely amazing. Again, we're going to have to do this again. Christina, it was such a pleasure finally meeting you because I'm following you on, both Threads and Instagram. And that's actually, let me tell you about the power of social media. Now, Tobi, I've known for years. Letia, I've known for a very long time. Christina, I did not know. And I'm scrolling on Threads and I see this young lady talking about film and directing. And I said, oh, she cute. Let me go on in and see what's going on. And I was very intrigued. I can't remember which post I saw, but when I saw it, I said, oh, I have to have her on the podcast. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't think that networking does not work, think again.
Yeah.
It has to be a very integral part of your journey and your growth in this business by meeting people and building relationships, because this is a business of relationships. So, hey, reach out to somebody. If you're intrigued, reach out. But when you reach out, make sure that when you go into their direct messages, make sure you're very respectful.
100%.
Please be respectful. Don't go in like, yo, what's up, sis? All that. No, don't do that. Introduce yourself and tell them why you're there, and then leave it up to them. If they don't reach back out, it is what it is. But if they do, then respond in kind. But again, be respectful, because you are going in someone else's space and asking them possibly for something. So please be respectful when you're doing that. But again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining myself, Christina, Richardson, Letia Solomon. Please let Letia go.
Do y'all feel like Threads is worth it? Is Threads worth
Yes.
being?
Yes.
I'm brand new, so y'all schooling me.
It's like,
Because I didn't do Twitter. I don't have Twitter. And I was like,
I used to be on Twitter, but Threads, the community is much more safer. I feel like Twitter got really like wild, like Wild Wild West.
Okay.
Threads is such a supportive, like community-based app. So I would definitely recommend it as a filmmaker. Okay. And then you can like literally post whatever you post on Instagram right to Threads. So it's easy, especially if you're on Instagram. So yeah, and it opens you up to a new market, a new audience. So absolutely, I would recommend it for a filmmaker, especially.
Okay. And the growth over there is crazy, because my growth on IG is just like, I don't know what the hell happened, but it's just not where it used to be. But on Threads, like Christina was saying, I'm interacting with people every single day, and phenomenal people, from not just, the film industry, from just, everyday regular life. But I love it. I love it over there. I love it over there. Yeah.
Especially
so I would definitely give it a try.
Campaign, or if you have any new projects, like it's just a very supportive. I would definitely recommend it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So come on over, guys. I'll be waiting for you. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been a conversation with the amazing Christina Richardson, the incomparable Letia Solomon, and my brother Tobi Gadison, who I've known for years. Love this brother. Good dude. How's your wife?
Dope. We're in the process of moving.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, got boxes all around. I'm trying to, dip out. So she's like, I don't want to move by myself. I'm like, I got you. Let me just do this podcast, and I got everything. So I'm trying
let me let you go. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on a conversation with Floyd Marshall, Christina Richardson, Letia Solomon, and Tobi Gadison. And as always, love this like a hobby, but treat it like a business. Everyone have an absolutely amazing night. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Peace, guys.
All right.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.